Insight.
Welcome back. This is your host, Arjang Abraham Zendadel. Today we're talking about spiritual fitness. My guest is Dr. Nancy Maramer, licensed clinical psychologist specializing in mind, body, spirit psychology, international speaker, and award-winning author of the book, Spiritual Fitness. So you've mentioned a few times the importance of using our breath to connect to our spirit, right? In
Yes.
fact, in Hebrew, the word breath, neshama, it also means spirit. So it has a connection. Very
Yes.
interesting enough. So let's go ahead and have you please share with us a practice that we can do. Is this with our eyes open or closed?
Typically, we want to do a breathing practice with our eyes closed because it helps to stop the brain chatter.
Okay.
We're
So
not,
I'm asking because people could be driving right now. Is it good for them to do it or it's better they don't?
no, it's better they don't.
Okay.
But
So
they'll,
if you
but they'll
want to do this,
remember it.
yeah. So if you want to do this exercise, you're driving, we suggest pull over. We're going to have thousands of cars suddenly pulling over. But if you want to do this exercise with us, go ahead and pull over. Make sure you're in a safe place so that you can really focus. And if you're not driving, we'd love for you to join us. Don't be cutting up celery or something. So let's go ahead and do the exercise, please.
So there are many, many breathing exercises that will help you get into a state of mindfulness or into meditation. But a very common one that helps us get to a really deeper level that connects to our inner wisdom is to breathe in for a certain number of seconds and then breathe out in for a longer number of seconds. So we could do it for 4 and 7
Why? Why do we change the number there?
because you're kind of detoxing. You're breathing in energy, which is prana or life force, as you said. We're breathing that into the body, and then we need to delete anything that it's gathered up in the nervous system that we don't need to let it go.
So why is it longer the breathing out?
Not all breathing practices are. Some are 4 in, 4 out.
Okay, so it
Some,
depends. Just this is
yeah,
one methodology.
this is one methodology. Some are breathe in for 4, hold for 4, release for 4.
Okay.
So
Okay.
yeah,
So this is one way. So
this is
so
just
we're
one way.
doing breathe in for 4, breathe out for 7. Is that correct?
Right. And this is sort of a detoxing kind of breath.
Okay. So please go ahead and take us through it. I'm with you.
Okay.
Exciting.
All right. So if you inhale, 2, 3, 4, and exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Inhale, 2, 3, 4, and exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And you may have noticed that just by paying attention to your breath, it got slower. By focusing on the breath, the mind stopped racing and stopped running, and the breathing slowed, and it became easier to slow the breath because you were paying attention to it. You were paying attention to the life force and regulating it.
Can we do a little more if it's okay?
I would love to.
All right.
I'm going to keep the same one.
Sure. Yeah.
Okay. Inhale, 2, 3, 4. Exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Inhale, 2, 3, 4. Exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
Mm. It's interesting. We just did that 4 times, 2 times a little
Yes,
bit before, 2 times now, and how calming that is in just 4 tries. It's pretty powerful.
it is. It doesn't take long. And the more you do it, the faster you'll get there. The more you do breathing practice, you may just have to take one breath and you'll be able to get yourself into a nice deep state of relaxation.
Yeah, very, very much so. There's also how to breathe, right? Because there's a lot of people who breathe shallow through their shoulders, like they tense their shoulders. I think it's important to point out that it's important to breathe through your diaphragm, your stomach. If you look at a baby, when they breathe in, their stomach goes in. When they breathe in, their stomach goes down when they breathe out. So let's talk about that if you don't mind. Do you have a way of
Absolutely.
guiding people through that part?
Yes, I do.
Please.
Most people either hold their breath or their breath is very jerky and shallow, or they breathe into the chest and not into the diaphragm. You know, the diaphragm is where you get taking breath into the diaphragm is where you get into parasympathetic.
Mm.
If you're not breathing deep into the diaphragm, you're not in parasympathetic. And one of the easiest ways to do this, and this is foolproof, is to lie on your bed and prop your chin up on your elbows like you used to do when you were a kid and you were lying on the floor and reading or watching TV. So you're lying on your abdomen, on your diaphragm. Your chest is propped up. Make sure that your whole diaphragm is on the floor or on the bed and just the chest is curled up. That shuts your chest down and it forces the breath into the diaphragm. And when you breathe in that posture, you'll feel not only the breath into the front of the diaphragm, but into the sides and into the back, like a tire filling up with air. The whole diaphragm opens up when you shut off the sympathetic or the chest breath and force the breath down into the diaphragm.
Beautifully shared. One of the techniques I share is you can imagine there's a balloon in your stomach. You put your hand on your tummy, and when you breathe in, air goes into the balloon, right? So your stomach gets bigger. And then when you breathe out, the stomach gets smaller. So it's a way to really practice, right? Breathing in well. And you can breathe in through your chest also, but the shoulders need to be relaxed. So that allows us to do deep breathing, which is very powerful.
Yes, you're doing your kind of, as they say, inflating the balloon. And you need to inflate it as much as you can. I don't know if you've heard of the study that they did with Swami Rama, where he could breathe so slowly and that his clinical signs would turn off. He would be clinically dead because he
Wow.
slowed the breath. Yeah, there's a documentary about the study on that breathing, on the depth of breathing and what it can do for us.
What's his name? The person who did this?
Swami Rama, Rama. He is now deceased, but the Himalayan International Institute is his institute.
So he breathed so slow he finally died, huh?
He finally died.
I'm
No
just kidding.
audible, discernible heartbeat, no pulse.
I'm just kidding. He did deep breathing and then he passed away like any other human being. Got you. All right. And it wasn't related to the deep breathing, just to be clear. People were like, I'm not doing any more deep breathing.
It
Not
would take
related
you
to the deep
years in
breathing.
an ashram to get to that level.
Right. Okay. So we spoke about doing deep breathing. Deep breathing is also very powerful for psycho-emotional well-being. I use it when I feel tense or stressed, or there may be some frustration. It's actually really powerful to imagine breathing in oxygen, breathing in light, and breathing out that negative emotion, the stress, the frustration, etc. So that's something also that we can use, right? Especially like when we're getting upset, deep breathing can be very powerful. Okay,
And
take it easy,
necessary.
take a deep breath, calm down. It's something that we can do while even telling ourselves, okay, calm down, accept this is what's happening now. Let's figure out how to deal with it, right? What do I want? What do I do? But
Right.
it's important, right, to use that breath. Do you use that also for emotional clearing?
Always.
Yeah.
Always. And
Yeah.
sometimes if a person has an emotion that's stuck in the body, you can breathe right into that part of the body and use visualization to release some of that emotional tension that's being held in the body so that you can be present. So that
Yes.
you can not aroused in a negative way.
Gotcha. And deep breathing, using the breath, again, is a universal spiritual practice that's used throughout a lot of different spiritual practices. So again, for me, it's one of those principles when you see things universally done that's pointing to the truthfulness, the power of it, the validity of it. I'm not saying if it's all universal, it's absolutely true, or if it's not universal, it's not true, but it's one of those indications for me. When you see something so universally done, there's probably high likelihood of validity and truth. So thank you for sharing that.
Yes.
You also share about mindfulness, right? Mindfulness practice. So first of all, what is mindfulness?
To put it very simply, is mindfulness is being here now,
Being present.
being present in this moment.
Mm,
Uh, and that means not living in regrets from the past, not living in worries about the future, not living in distraction. It means being present in the moment. And there are different ways to practice mindfulness, but the concept itself just means being present. And being present usually creates an experience where you're really listening to people. You're really seeing what's going on around you. You're really in the moment, and you're not in your head sort of analyzing everything that's going on.
So when we're present, I think it slows down the inner chatter, right? Because when we're not present, we're in the mind, the past, the future, blah, 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 blah. And our mind is going whatever 100 miles an hour. But when
Yes,
we are present, it allows us to also go into the parasympathetic zone also. Is that accurate?
it actually slows the brainwave. And the longer you can stay in mindfulness in the moment, because we're human and, we don't live in a 100% state of mindfulness, but the more we practice mindfulness, the more we do live in it, the more
Mm,
we do live in the present moment.
mm.
And so it's a practice worth doing, with sort of bringing yourself back to the moment, bringing yourself back to what's happening right here and now.
Mm.
Yeah.
And that's important because life is really, if you think about it, every moment of life is life. And when we're not present, we're not really being in the moment. We're not really living our life in that moment. As you said, there are times, I call it visiting the past or future with volition. That means we choose to heal something from the past or we choose to set a goal for the future. But outside of those kind of exceptions, when we're in the present, it allows us to really live life. Otherwise, we might be missing out on life, right? It says when, you see people's birth date and passing date, 1948 to 2023, let's say. It's that hyphen that's really where life happens. So it's important to realize it's those moments where life happens. So being present allows us to really live life.
Yes, it does. And it's not, it can be challenging because we're not used to it. We're
Mm,
not used to just looking at life and saying, I just want to be right here, right now. I want to be having lunch with this person and be totally focused on them. That, and that's just one way of being mindful. I have a little exercise, if you'd like me to share it, that's
yes, let's do
real
it.
simple for mindfulness.
Sure.
In order to get yourself mindful, and as you
Now,
said,
can people do this while driving or not this
they
one?
can do this, that, well, maybe, possibly. They can do parts of it while driving.
Okay, so if you're driving, be careful. It may not be good for you to do the whole thing. You can listen, but if you're not driving, it's a good idea to do the exercise. Or maybe if you're driving, there's parts that you can do if it's safe for you. You decide.
Yes.
All right, go
And you'll
for it.
remember it. Once you hear it, you don't have to do it. You'll
Okay,
remember it.
gotcha.
So in the moment, what can you see? What do you see? Right now, I see my computer. I see you. I see all the little icons at the bottom. I'm present in what I can see. I can see my notes. So in the moment, that's something I see that keeps me here, present in the moment.
Mm,
Is there anything that I can hear? I can hear my chair swivel. I can hear you talking. I can hear the clock ticking. I can hear the furnace. I can hear things that are in this moment in my auditory system.
mm,
What can I feel? I can feel the chair behind me. I can feel my sweater on my body. I can feel my ring on my finger. I can feel my shoes on my feet. I can feel a little cool breeze coming from the furnace. I can feel a lot of different things that I wasn't feeling before I decided to do that. What do I smell? Is there anything that I can smell? A little bit of incense burning from this morning, a
mm.
little bit of heat from the furnace. I don't smell anything else right now. That is what I smelled in the moment. And is there anything that I can taste? Uh, Sometimes I can maybe taste, if I notice in the moment, a little bit of a metallic taste. I can taste the coffee that I drank earlier. And that's what's happening right now in my five senses. And as I'm talking about it, I'm not thinking or being anywhere but in my five senses, in the moment, present.
Beautifully shared. So the way to be present, to be mindful, is through the senses. One or more of the senses, when we tune into them, it brings us to the present. So if you're wondering, how do I be present? Come to your senses, right? Connect to your senses.
Or
and that itself will support us to be present. Any one or more of the five senses.
Any of the five senses. Or you just look at a lamp and notice every little crevice in the lamp. Notice every little thing about the lamp that you never saw before. Just stay with one item. It can be a flower, it can be an object, it can be an orange. And you can be mindful in an orange for at least 15 minutes. There's so much to pay attention to. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's very profound. I want people to understand, even though it sounds simple, it's quite profound because it really supports us to be with what is. A lot of times we're living in the past or the future and we visit the present, right? We're thinking about what happened or what's going to happen. And then we take little visits to the present. And this really allows us to live in the present. And then when we choose, go to the past and the future. So it's very profound. It allows us to really live at a more profound level, powerful level. Thank you for sharing. We are discussing spiritual fitness, and Dr. Nancy Maramer is our guest. She's been sharing with us exercises for spiritual fitness. She is a licensed clinical psychologist specializing in mind, body, spirit psychology. She's an international speaker and award-winning author of the book, Spiritual Fitness. You're tuning into A Time of Insight. This is your host, Arjang Abraham Zendadal.
A time of insight.